Here we go. So, I'm not awkward, you are. I'm a company director at Differences, Not Disabilities. I'm an SEN school teacher and essentially I'm qualified to work with severe learning difficulties and all that. I've seen quite a few posts recently. This one is meant to be a video for your child coming home and attacking and biting you as soon as he or she gets through the door. This comes up quite a lot. I've seen this a lot, and often people say they've tried utterly everything, and the child comes home, often from transport or with another parent, walks in the door and attacks. They are severely emotionally dysregulated, and trying to talk to them at that point, trying to reason with them, often the things doesn't work. And so often parents can, they can become scared. It's scary, it's traumatic, it's traumatic for the individual involved, it's traumatic for everyone. So what can we do to sort this out? What advice would people give? And the reason why I'm doing a video on this, however bad this video might be, is the two main pieces of advice I heard somebody give at this point was take your child to see a chiropractor or give them CBD oil. And that infuriated me. So however awkward I might be on here, don't do that. Whether that might work or not, that is not a systematic approach to help anyone. The first thing I would do is, personally, I do an ABC chart, but you need to find out when it's happening. So is it happening every day at 4 o'clock when they come home and see mum? Is it happening every Friday when they come home and see dad? If you have more evidence of when it's happening, just a tick chart or who it's happening with, or it could be that there's a certain lesson at school they utterly hate and that's what's happened when they're coming back from that. Once you've got that information, you then need to look at, okay, how can we change the dynamic? How can we change the situation that's occurring? Usually we'd look at the 5 functions or 4 functions of behaviour. So you've got sensory, escape, attention, tangible, social. So is it a sensory distressed? Do they need a proprioceptive need, or is it the fact that you're often cooking dinner when they come in and they've got this overwhelmed sense of smell? Usually it isn't that, to be fair. Is it escape? So do you put demands on them straight away? Often our demands are unintentional, but if you're saying what happened at school and blah, 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 what do you want to do this evening, all of these things, it can be too much for them. So they're trying to escape, and their version of trying to escape, if you don't let them, tends to become physical at that point. Attention, you could be giving them lots of space, giving them their own time out, and actually they want your attention. And the only way they've learned to do that is to come over and hit, and then they know if they hit you, it gets your attention. Tangible, they've come home, they want pudding straight away. You've said no, and they've hit out, so therefore they're angry. And social, sometimes it can be the fact that there's loads of people in your house, those sorts of things. Irrespective of all of that, that's a little side note really, but what we need to do is go, okay, I've got an angry headbutting child. How do I prevent this? So usually when they're headbutting and those sorts of things, actually, could we change the dynamic of the routine of what happens when they come home? So if you come home, if you consciously go, okay, let's use a visual schedule to remind them when they come home, they're going to do their colouring book when they come home. I'm not going to talk to them, I'm going to lead them to it. And they've got something nice to look forward to when they do come home. No matter what, it is the same consistency across the board. And things like that will really help. They know that that's what they're looking for. You can give that schedule to school to get them to talk about it. You can ask that child when they're calm, what would they like to do? And even if that child's non-verbal, you can give them an option of 2. But really and truly, if a child is 10 out of 10 angry, we need a strategy to calm them down. And that strategy usually involves not talking to them, giving them space and giving them an activity to do. You wouldn't usually go for colouring because you might get stabbed. But for instance, blowing bubbles, punching a punch bag, bouncing outside, going on the trampoline, those sorts of things. Regulatory strategies, I love a thing called CERTs, but basically no matter who you are, no matter what level of ability you've got, using a regulatory strategy first will help. And I advise that for all adults. If you're really angry, go for a walk, and that's the first step. So if you're struggling, with your child coming home, that's the first thing to do. Get evidence, and then try and have a regulatory activity for them to do it, and try and lower the amount of verbal stimulus you give them, basically. Work from there, really.